Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. After what must have been a terrific lunch. Did anyone drink any of that red stuff that was out there? Is that going to be like our version of kids and red cordial? Do you think at some point we're going to all be bouncing off the roof at some time? Quotable quotes so far. Two-speed newsroom was pretty good, I thought, from Wada. But prize of the day so far goes to Peter Young from Cricket Australia. We know why, don't we? Any of you in his session where he's talking here about his own organisation, right? Cricket and Cricket Australia. Describes it as male, pale and stale. Peter, you missed a career in writing headlines in newspapers, I think. I neglected to mention that in lieu of thank you gifts to our speakers and all our panellists in these 2 days, we're not giving them an indifferent bottle of wine, which is often the case. Instead, we are making a donation on their behalf to two causes, to Movember, and there are a lot of blokes around this joint wearing really, really unfortunate moustaches, so clearly... You know, don't you? Guys love Movember. It's your chance to kind of get all gaucho and macho for a few. And can I just tell you, all the women in your life, we hate it. We just hate it. So to Movember and also to the Australian Cervical Cancer Foundation. So we're making donations to those terrific causes in lieu of gifts to them. Now, can I get your attention for a moment? Because also I mentioned earlier, you might recall, the app that you can use, the WPRF app. And a number of people, instead of saying WPRF app, have been saying WTF. So we've got for you a little video presentation. We'll explain to you how to use the app. Roll it.
Welcome to your mobile event guide. Think of it as a show guide gone digital. Enjoy all the event information in an easy and fun mobile app that works on any smartphone, tablet, or laptop. To access your event app, simply type in the address in your mobile browser. For quick access, make sure to bookmark the event app and add it to your smartphone home screen. You can create your own schedule, browse through profiles, learn about sponsors, find your way around, and lots more. Want to have your voice heard? Take part in event surveys and session polls by choosing your answers and pressing submit. Now that you know the basics, you can go to your event with confidence and ease, knowing all the information you need is in the palm of your hand.
So easy. All right, so now you have all that information in the palm of your hand. What we're going to do now, though, and it's going to be a really fun and interactive session, is we're now going to talk through and hopefully refine the Melbourne Mandate that will then be released formally at the end of these 2 days of this forum. So could you please welcome to the stage here, of course, you know Daniel Tisch, who has been speaking to you earlier, but also Jean Valin, Principal with Valin Strategic Communications and a founding member of the Global Alliance. Please welcome them both. They're going to take you through some of the details of how they have arrived at the draft documents so far that you, I'm sure, have already been looking at. But let me tell you how we're going to proceed. So you've each chosen, I hope, as you walked into the auditorium this afternoon, the 3 areas in which you want to sit so you can discuss those particular areas of the mandate. In the centre, listening. To the side here, character. And over to the left, this left section here, or your side, right, responsibility. If that's not where you want to be, if you want to discuss something else, can I ask you to quickly make your move now? It goes listening, character, responsibility. You will have received index cards, I hope, as you walked into the auditorium. You can fill out your observations, your suggestions, your changes, and put them in the boxes or the containers on your way out of the auditorium at the end of these 2 sessions, and they'll be taken into account as well. So look, I'm now going to hand over to Daniel and to Jean to talk you through the mandate so far, how they've arrived at where they have, and where we go to from here. Gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Virginia, and welcome everybody to the Melbourne Mandate session. Jean and I don't want to talk for too long because we want to really turn this over to you to have dialogues with your peers and colleagues and then share your thoughts with everybody at the mics. But what we wanted to do is tell you a little bit about how we got here so that you understand some of the input that's gone into the mandate and some of the thinking that's gone into the mandate as well. So from a goal standpoint, we really set out about a year ago now, almost exactly a year ago, to replicate what I guess I'm calling the Stockholm model, because the first time we tried a model like this was in Stockholm at the World Public Relations Forum there 2 years ago. But the idea is that not only did we want the World Public Relations Forum to have and to deliver a great experience for delegates, we wanted to have a lasting legacy for the profession. And so the goal really was to develop a consensus-based advocacy platform with practical tools that can help professionals make the case for the value of public relations to organizations and to society. And of course, we all wanted you to be part of something pretty special that delivers a lasting legacy from this conference. It's important, I think, anytime you have a stakeholder consultation to identify some process values at the beginning. And so we really wanted this to be a highly transparent process, done in public, communicated in public, every stage, every comment, everything done publicly, and that's what we've done in the last year. It's important as well, we thought, to both have some leadership involved and bring in some senior practitioners and academics quite intentionally, but at the same time have it very much be open to grassroots participation, a bit of top-down and a lot of bottom-up. That it be open to all, that anybody who wanted to express an interest to participate in the process over the last year had the ability to do so, and of course, to allow the working groups which were created to really feel empowered to be creative and to develop some strategies, some ideas, some tools that were a little bit out of the box. So we started about a year ago with some brainstorming at the level of the Global Alliance Board, and we identified a series of areas that were worth consulting the global professional community about. And you see, of course, the ones we chose across the top, but there are other ones which were part of our consideration as well that you see here on this slide. So we did a survey in late 2011 and early 2012 where we consulted the leaders of our community. So there are, in any given year, there's somewhere between 60 and 70 associations around the world that are active in the Global Alliance. And so we asked them to distribute this survey to their most senior board members and other colleagues. And the survey told us a few things. This slide you saw in my presentation this morning, and you see here how this directly influenced the themes that we chose for the Melbourne Mandate, because the ones that really came out were this idea of developing a listening culture, of defining character, and responsibility you see in various places here, but the idea of applying ethics to PR decisions and broadening that to the idea of an organization's responsibility to its stakeholders all came together in the idea of responsibility. We also found out that from the survey that there were some priorities from our professional community in terms of what they saw as the keys to advocacy for PR. And so you'll see that one of the questions we ask you today is not just about what you think of the Melbourne Mandate, its strengths, its weaknesses, but also what you think we can do from it, and what we can do in the future, how it can help you make the case for public relations. And so you see here that the areas that emerge most strongly, the two most strong ones, is the importance of not just talking to ourselves as a profession, but engaging stakeholders outside the profession, most notably the business community and to a lesser extent the media, to make the case for PR. The next step was an abstract for public comment. And then that led us, of course, in the abstract to start to define what we view as these three key elements to the communicative organization and to the role of public relations and communication management today: character, listening, and responsibility.
All right, thanks, Dan. If we were doing this in Canada, I'd be doing the French part now, because that's what we do when we alternate share at the podium.
Maybe bien sûr.
Really. So what we did next is, as Dan explained, we opened it up to working groups. There's about a call out went out to people who were involved previously in the Stockholm Accords. We issued an open invitation to anyone, grassroots, middle level, senior level practitioner, to join working groups. We received about 120 people who wanted to be part of this working group process. We divided them roughly into the three groups that are here, and there are co-chairs assigned, and maybe this is the perfect place to introduce our co-chairs.
I think that's coming up on maybe the next slide.
All right, we'll do that now. So it consisted of practitioners and academics from all around the world. Each working group developed a draft text and consulted with their working group, and we posted that on a blog on the Global Alliance website as of September. So you have now, I think, in your kit, a copy of the Melbourne Mandate itself. If you don't have it, please take it out because you'll be working on that pretty soon. We're not going to go through each page, but we'll ask you some very specific questions about the mandate. And that's the conceptual model for one of the groups, the defining character group, and how they frame the various strands of what constitute the culture of the organization and how the values, how it all works together. Here's a complex diagram, a spidergram, but it's one of the practical applications you can make, you can take away from the Melbourne Mandate. It's called the Integrity Index. Basically, here there's an example, a fictitious example of a health organization that has 6 values, and through inside and outside surveys and various other tools, they're able to demonstrate where they stand in terms of their value statement through the spidergram. So I won't go through some of the fine print here, you can read about that. So what Dan and I did next is we took the output from each of the working groups, their paid papers, their notes, their final deliberations on this, and we concocted the Melbourne Mandate. We distilled and aggregated the work that they had done, including the very practical steps. There are 2 drafts sent. You now have the draft 2 in your hands, and that's what we'll work on. So here's some notable feedback. Once we had our final, or in between draft 1, we sent it to a few notable experts. Here's what someone called Jim Gruning wrote about the mandate itself when we sent it to him. Like the documents very much. I think it states my understanding of what public relations is and what the obligations of our professionals are. I especially like the emphasis on what I interpret as behavioral strategic management, role of public relations, as well as the emphasis on relationships, ethics, social responsibility, sustainability, organizational governance, continuous learning, research as a component of public relations, and the need for public relations professionals to keep up with research on public relations. Dan, would you like to tell us what Francesco had to say?
Sure. Francesco Lurati from Switzerland at the University in Lugano. He says, I find the document excellent. To my knowledge, it's the first statement from a PR professional body that acknowledges in clear terms the inside-out perspective, a perspective that in the past has often been shaded by the stakeholder approach. He liked the fact that the document focuses and presents it in a balanced way, and that there's clear reference made to the role of communication professionals in shaping the character of the company. The point he made towards the end, which found its way directly into the last statement on page 1 in the draft, is that, that there's something unique, not just in choosing these 3 areas, but that they come together in a way that's very strategic, right? So he's saying that by bringing together the shaping of an organization's character with the promotion of stakeholder engagement and responsible management, it's actually enabling us to truly be strategic in the way that we execute our function as public relations professionals.
All right, so the next feedback we obtain, and those of you who were in my session earlier will appreciate the humor in this. We asked Emilio Galizugaro to comment on the mandate, and once he gave us his input and we sent back the next draft, here's what he said. I must officially complain. You've done something utterly unheard of. You listened to my 5 cents of input on the Melbourne Mandate. Even worse, you prove that you listened by making myself find my ideas in the latest draft. You hereby broke one of the golden rules of our profession. Preach wine, serve vinegar. You preach wine, you serve wine. Therefore, I have absolutely nothing to add. I think the Melbourne Mandate is well crafted. Emilio, I know you're in the room. We quoted you correctly. I guess you did.
Okay, so you've self-selected parts of the room, and area appropriately, I guess listening is right in the middle. Over here we have the responsibility section. Over there we have the organizational character. And we're going to turn it back to Virginia in a moment. And what we want you to do is really talk in sequence at her direction about these 3 questions. So just, talk to the person to your left, to your right, form a little cluster. And we'd like you to tell us and to tell each other, number 1, what do you see as the greatest success of the Melbourne Mandate? Number 2, what's the greatest opportunity for improvement? And number 3, the what's next stage. Let's say we emerge from this conference with consensus around this document, as obviously we hope we will. What has to happen next for it truly to be useful to the profession? We promised to do this earlier, a few slides ago. Here in the room we have the chairs of the various working groups. So the co-chairs of the organizational character group, Professor Anne Gregory, and if you could just stand up there, and James Wright from Australia, who's right up front here. Managing Director of the RED Agency. Dr. Gregor Hoff, where's Gregor? Here's Gregor, GA board member from Singapore and Singapore Management University. Noel Turnbull, unfortunately, isn't here, although he was very obviously critical to that group. And finally, in the responsibility group, Catherine Arrow from New Zealand, Global Alliance board member, and former Global Alliance chair, Tony Musi-Falcone from Italy. So I'd invite you, the working group chairs will be walking around a little bit as you have your discussions, and we'd invite you to chat with them or haul them down if you want to ask a question or two about the rationale for a particular statement or a way something is phrased. So, Virginia, we're turning it back to you, and we look forward to the discussion.
Gentlemen, thank you. Terrific. All right, I'm sure that's clear. Could we get, there we go. Yeah, that's what I want up there, and that can stay up here for the next, let's say 10 minutes of discussion. We'll see how we go from there, addressing those 3 questions. And feel free to get up and move around. I mean, spend some time in your little cluster there, but then go to the rest of your, the people in your area as well, and keep talking. What we'll do is, we've got some roving mics in the room, and we'll have to make this pretty fast and dirty, I think. I think we'll sort of go through group by group, so 3 areas, just a quick fire response from those who are willing to talk and who'd like to have their say and be heard today, using those roving mics on those 3 questions, those 3 responses you have, and then we'll go to the next group. So no more palaver from me. You'll notice there's no butcher's paper. I agreed to do this on the basis that there be no butcher's paper anywhere in the room, and there isn't. So get to it, get talking. We'll report back, or you'll report back to us in about 10 minutes' time. Don't be shy.